All right, where are we? We have a. I'm sure there's a 9-hole cup. I'm sure there's already. We just finished the last tournament, the Southern Safari. Now we're on to the League of Leagues 9-hole cup, and it is at White Cliffs. I do have a little bit of. Let me clean my desktop up here. We do have a golden shot. Let's see where it's at. Oh man, this is a tough ass hole. This is, I think, let's see which. We're playing from the front tee, so I'm not sure if it is. Let me think here. Let me think. Let me think. I was doing a 20% adjustment. Calculator. 1.2 times whatever the wind is. I'm not sure which club I'm going to be in. I'm either going to be in my wood or my long iron. My wood is 2.0 per ring. It might be a little different than that, but I counted at 2.0 and it's 1.7 here. If I can hit in front, I think it's 5 backspin, and if I have to bounce it over, I think it's 3. We'll see if I can get it. I have not. I will tell you, if you do not watch Tommy stuff, this is when you should go watch it, because he will tell you how to get close, super close. You can just follow his guide and he'll tell you how to get super close. I'm just going to take it blind. We'll see where we're at. We'll see if we're just a play-out. Okay, I'm in my long iron, so it's 1.7 per ring. And I think it was 3 backspin. And I'm going to have to pull back a little. I'm only going to do 2 backspin. It's 7 divided by 1.7. It's 4.94 rings, 5 rings. Ring set. Hitting it perfect. We'll see if I got my spin right. Nope. Put too much backspin on it. Probably actually from where I was hitting right there, I probably needed 3 top spin. I try not to hit from that side in tournaments. I always hit from the other side, so it's 5 backspin, but where the red line was at right there was not conducive for that. There we go. That's why you watch Tommy stuff, because you don't have that shit happen. And hey, that's just the deal. I'm just saying, man, I do have a club card trading to do. Let's get that out of the way. At least we're going to be a winner here no matter what. Let's see if we're a big winner, though. The Thor's Hammer. That is the one. I'm almost there. Almost. One shy. Maybe we'll pick one up. All right, let's check this course out. Let's check out what we have in store for us for White Sands. We'll see if I can remember, or White Cliffs. We'll see if I can remember these off the top of my head, because I only have 1 practice token, so... that's the unfortunate thing about these, is that they should have, like, I know they're like the 9-hole cups. It'd almost be nice if they did Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we had the whole weekend to do it, but we can't practice till Thursday. Now, I've seen people come on this hole, and I think from the rookie tees, especially with some of the newer balls that are out there, I would explore, and it seems like I have, like the last time we were down here, we played this, we were exploring going over from here and bridging this gap, bringing out one of the big power balls with the topspin boost so that you can come over, and even if you clip the rough and you just bleed out over here, you got a flat shot to the cup. You're way uphill looking down from the tee box. I was trying to get, and I believe on the shot to the left, I was trying to actually come through on this side, because the way that the ball was coming out, it just seemed like this side right here, I was getting better results where I was bleeding out better. I also think in Ricky that if you bring out a big enough ball, you can get in front of this line and you can go straight down at it. And depending on the club that you use, it might be like one backspin. And you really want to take that shot because there's a flat area that tongues out down here, and at the flat area down at the bottom, down here, you have a really nice shot at the cup. I'm not so sure that like in the past we haven't like taken off like 10%. I mean, it's you're right there. And you can start off here, I think, if you bring out a big enough ball. But if you're starting off back here with a mortal ball, I've taken this shot with a Marlin, I don't know how many times. And I do know that from where my red line is at, that I pull back slightly from the red line. And I want to get on this little arc. Let me erase that. Let me zoom it up just a little. I want to be like 2 or 3 rings off on this right here. And your ball guide's going off in this direction. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to cover this angle. And if you've got a quarterback with max curl, you can come out here with a Marlin ball and there's a spot, and I think the spot that and don't quote me on this, but I think the spot that I'm really looking for is like right here at the end of the sand trap, where you're pretty much out of the curve and now you're on to the flat. And so like right at that junction point is where I want to be set up 3 rings into the fairway with my ball guide going like this with probably, I think it may be max topspin with a quarterback, or it may be 3. I would start with 3 and just do a max curl shot. Just take the wind out. Just set your ball up here so that you're in this spot. You're 3 rings off. Take the wind out. Put max curl on it. No overpower. And try and get your first bounce so that your first bounce is here. And on your trajectory here, it's pulling you down to the bottom on this trajectory. You're close right here. So if you clip this area on this side right here, you can fix your shot by moving it in to the right the next time you take it. So like if you were way the hell out here, you could move it in a lot. But I can tell you, if you're using a quarterback and you're taking this shot right here, you can put 3 rings out from rookie and take a max curl shot and run yourself right down this fairway and get down into this area. But this is the area that we're shooting for. I believe if the wind is blowing right. Now last week we had tailwinds all week, and this one we're going to have some days that we have headwinds. But if there's days that we have tailwinds, because of where we can get out here, if we bring out a big enough ball, we can get like bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then try and bridge the gap on bounce number 3. And in a best case scenario, in my opinion, we clip the rough and we just bleed out. In a worst case scenario, we bounce over and we hope that we didn't carry enough speed to run us off the back. But that is possible as well. So we've got a bunch of different ways that we can attack this hole, depending on what equipment you have, what ball inventory you have, and which way the wind's blowing. I would want to have at least 2 of these shots in my bag. And I typically am not a person, in my opinion, there are spectators out here. Okay, this is the fans. Okay, they're standing out here on this side of the course because they're walking along with me. And now you're hitting your ball out into my fans and stuff. Come on, man. We play this hole on the right-hand side. I like to do either the shot where we're trying to get on and 1, but if the wind's not blowing right, my shot is to lay it up. And if I can't get this shot with a 3 power ball for whatever reason, I do have the other shot in my bag where you can bring it around with a low power ball. There you go. An hour on a par 4. That was just for Dale Appleby right there. See if we can spend an hour on this par 3. These par 3s, I can't remember these par 3s that well because there's a bunch of them that have this little Casper the Ghost look to them. And I get them confused. And I'm not sure on some of these, like whether or not, because there's a couple of the holes that are in the game that we can utilize these roughs. If you've got, now I don't think you can utilize this rough, but like these rough areas, and we can do like a rough bump. Even though from down here it looks like it's a mile, there is a rough bump that you can do from right down here on the corner. And that's actually the shot that we want to take on this, but there may be a shot just going straight out. I can't remember this hole at all from this picture. It's like I've never played it, but if we got out there on the course, I'm sure I would remember it. there's a bunch of holes in the game that are like, what they did was they took the mirror image, like on the other hole the little thing comes this way and comes like that instead of this way. There's just too many of these little guppy holes. I can't remember them. Sorry. Sue me. No, don't sue me. No, I was just joking. I do remember this hole, however. Okay, the first thing, I always play this hole on this side. I have, on occasions, played over here in one-on-one from the Pro Tee, because you get into situations where unless you want to bring out a big enough ball in order to get onto the island, your only choice with a Quasar with a 1-power ball is to go down here and trying to get down to the very end so that you're on the same shooting plane. If you go, here, let me pull it up so we can see it. So if you're going from the tee box to the tip, you're on the same shooting plane. So if you got out into this area right here, you're on the same distance to the cup. It's just that when you get right up to the cup, you got this freaking sand trap in your way. So you got to negotiate around it. You either bounce in front of it and try and bounce over it, or you get on the other side and use backspin, but you can shoot from over here. I've seen people, many people, try and shoot to get out into this area to try and go from wood to long iron. And I have seen a bunch of people succeed. But when they get done with all of the effort that it took to get their ass out to here, now they have a sand trap in front of them. And they're caught up doing the same thing. They can either bounce it over the sand and then try and woe it up to get to the cup, or they have to start off on the other side of the sand and use backspin to try and get it there. So these two aren't nearly as successful as when you can just run it up to it, like if you were in long iron right here. I would take this long iron shot every day versus this one because of the trap. You could set this one up and, I mean, you're going to start making this one. And Ricky, I want to go right out here to the end. If I remember correctly, you can come out here. Once again, this is a quarterback hole. You can use what you want to use, whatever is the most accurate club that you have. So if you can use a rock or a quarterback, whichever one of those hits the farthest, because I don't think you're using that much topspin. I think it's only like literally. I'm not so sure that it's not some backspin, but if it is topspin, it's like 1 or 2, and if it's backspin, it's like 1 or 2. I mean, it's like there's a very little amount. I think there is a little topspin. I would rather be a little short of the end and in the fairway than ever long. So I would definitely set that shot up. And since you're using an accurate club, you can set that shot up so that you can make a grate to the left or the right and still end up in the spot. This Albie shot on the other side is one of those ones where when you're coming to the cup is like this right here. When you're running up to the cup, right at the very end, like in the last couple squares of it, it's like it drifts off and it wants to drop. And so I have a lot of shots here that just miss. And you can hit it just a little bit too fast, and it'll go through this break, and it'll stay on the line that you put it on, and it'll miss it right on this side. And if you're just a little bit too slow, it'll drop down. It's hard to get your speed right to get in it, but there is a serious chance for an Albie on this hole. Serious chance. Serious. Hole number 4. Quick review here. Okay, once again I can't remember this hole. If I remember correctly, this hole blows chunks. Like you want to, okay, what you would think that you could do is that you could bring out, because of where this, you can see this shadow that's down here, right here. So like this is flat area, and this is roll. So it goes like, well, when I say flat area, I mean it goes like this, and then it rolls off down towards the sand. What's up, baby? All right, let me think about this hole. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that if you come out here on this little edge, on this flat area with a big backspin club, that you would think that if you put some side spin on it, that the side spin would react and it would bring you over here to the hole, but it doesn't quite react that way. It's almost like maybe with some of the bigger side spin balls, you might be able to get it to react that way, but it's one of those areas where the ball wants to go straight and you have to put You have to use that dreaded word curl on a par 3. I mean, this is totally not repeatable. So, I mean, like, you might make it. And bouncing off this island, I have seen people do this. This freaking sand right here is a magnet. Because getting around this corner, the deal here is when you're bouncing off of this, you got bounce number 1 and you got bounce number 2. And bounce number 2 is right there at that ape. It's right there. Like right along that edge. And so your bounce number 2 is right here, and you've got your spin on it, and your spin's kind of bringing it to the hole, but you need either a bigger side spin ball or you need a little bit of curl. So I would say, like, look at your 4 and 5 side spin ball inventory. When you're on your practice day, when you go out there and practice, go through your ball inventory and check them out. It doesn't matter if you time out, it's practice. Go out there and check. You've got a couple times you could go out. You got what ball you kind of want to practice with. You could bring out a 3 side spin ball, like a katana, and try and get up here. I think actually, in order to get up in the front like this, depending on what club you want to be in, whether you were, I'm pretty sure you're going to be in Guardian. If you had an upper developed club that had backspin like a Thor's Hammer, you could use a Thor's Hammer or a Rocket and try and get down there a little bit closer to it. This actually might not be a bad hole for a Rocket. And we played a couple tournaments ago with a Rocket in our bag. And, you know, now that I sit here and think about it, it seems like the last time we played this hole, I like bring out a Rocket and you could start out in front and try and do a shot going straight at it. I may bring a Rocket just to check it out and see what it looks like. But that's what the practice rounds are for. You really got to go out there and practice and check out different balls and see what the deal is. But watch this second bounce, because if you have to put any curl on it, the distance from your tee box to your first bounce, man, you put just a little teeny bit of curl on it. It doesn't seem like a lot right here, but I mean, when you get down to the other end, I mean, how much it moved the shot over could be big. Clip you right on that. I see a lot of people get clipped on that, and I have been clipped on that a lot of times. I typically like to either just hit it out here and make my putt and move along a little doggy, or try and start off on the other side and backspin it. I'm gonna check out a Rocket, because I think if you brought out a smaller ball, you might be able to. You got to go out there on practice day and really check it out. We have options on that, but in my opinion, that hole blows. All right, this is a tough par 5. I'm almost at the point where this is one of those par 5s that it's almost an eagle hole with it's a birdie hole with an eagle opportunity, as opposed to an eagle hole with an Albie opportunity. It's tough to get an eagle here. It's tough to get on in 2 so that you can putt out and get your eagle or chip out. And so this is a tough hole, and I would imagine that this week that this hole right here is going to eat the most people's lunch. I'm not so sure. Okay, so if we look at our planes here, if you come out, and this is another one of those holes I think you can hit with an accurate club, because if you've got especially if you've got mid-level clubs, maybe just a step up, like level 7 extra mile, level 8, and you can get out into this area, the problem with hitting all the way down here to the end, I see most people try and hit all the way to the end, is when we draw a line to the cup, you now have to get around this peninsula. So that means you got to go through this lane. So that means this angle right here is bigger. So that means you got to have a ball that has more side spin. And you really want to, if you're down here way down in the bottom, you really want to get your spot so that you're in front of, you're as deep into this neck as you can be. And then you've got to watch your bounces. So you got you got bounce number 1, and if you're trying to bring it around to the cup, you're skirting up against this line. That if you bring out a big enough ball on the drive, like you bring out a power 5 ball, and instead of bringing out the power 5 ball and trying to get down here, even though it's a longer shot, you just lay yourself up right down here in the middle of the fairway. Your approach shot to the cup is much straighter. So if you bring out a secondary club like a Big Dog or a Cataclysm that has a ton of topspin, a Horizon that has a ton of topspin, you have a straight line. And what really sucks when you're trying to do a shot with a Horizon or something like that where you're running all the topspin is if you have any kind of curves. But here you don't have any curves because you laid it up so that you would straighten your line out. You might have a little teeny bit of movement that you have to adjust for, but so typically on this hole, I think I just lay it up so that my line to the cup is straighter and I have a much better shot. Even though I'm gaining a little bit, you know, if you drew a line to the cup, I did gain some distance by hitting it down here. I don't think that distance that I gained got me anything. It might. It just depends on where you can get at in this neck. So if they gain the distance down here that they can actually get their ball on the other side of this curve where they can really go at it. Now their side spin's super effective because this is the middle of their shot and their side spin is bringing them around the bend. You could go for it. So try going down here and see what that angle looks like and let me know in the comments. It might be better down here, but you do have, especially if you have mid-level clubs, but you got like a Big Dog or a Cataclysm that's got some topspin. Horizon, you bring that club and now you have a straight line at it with a power 5 ball. You will have a shot, at least of laying yourself up front so that you have a short chip to try and get your eagle. And if you got the right stuff here, you can get at least a run at it for Albie. I will say this, if I remember correctly, about going for Albie. It is super easy if you're trying to pick up that little extra distance to actually get a run at the green to go for the Albie, to blow off the back of this. And it is green, small fringe, fairway, we're in the rough, but this whole area is like this, where the green's like this, and then it's domed off of it. And so it's super easy for it to just roll off the back and end up in the rough. I typically don't go for the cup. My ultimate goal is right there, because from right there I can make that shot 99 times out of 100. And I want to walk away with an eagle. I know that we want to get an Albie, but we need to get an eagle. Hold on. All right. Where are we at on this one? Is this the hole we're on? Hole number 5? Hole number 5, is that right? I walked away for a second. Yeah, we are on hole number 5. That's that crappy par 3. Jeez. That par 3 is going to eat a bunch of people's lunch this week. All right. Let me think about this hole. Yeah, this is the hole we were just talking about. Yeah, this is the hole where I believe that you should lay it up and go do the shot. We should check them both out, though. You can get way down here now. If you can get down here and the distance that you pick up gets you further into this neck so that you can really get a run at it, then it is definitely worth going for down here. But if you have mid-level stuff and you don't have, and you're just struggling at it, don't try and get down there. Just lay it up so that you have a straight up shot, so that your second shot's a little bit, you still may be lacking some distance, but it's a little bit straighter, so it's easier to fucking hit a great to the left or the right and still have it end up in the right spot. That hole is gonna eat people's lunch for sure. And I am sure it's gonna eat mine at least once. I love this hole. In my opinion, in my mind, of all the holes that I can think of out there, this is the first hole where our eyes tell us that we are down here and that the green is up here and that it's an uphill deal. And when we made the adjustment, we actually did like a 0.85 or a 0.9 adjustment, 9.0. And we took a little bit of wind off. And the goal is to get right down here in front and have this shot coming up. And when you're coming up to the cup from down there, and this is extreme short iron or even wedge, just depending on how deep you can get down into here, you can get to the point where you've changed your plane So like where that's super steep right here, it's not so steep on this side. And if you can get out into this area when you're doing your approach shot, you're actually coming at it on a slightly flatter area than this curve. So when you're coming to the cup, it tends to run off on one side or the other. And I can't, and I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think of whether or not, like, I always start off on the left-hand side and it kind of pulls just a little to the right, or whether I start off on the right and then it always pulls just a little to the left. But I do start off on one side of the cup. I'm still in the cup, but I'm like right along that edge. There's a great shot from down there. Now, how do we get down there? That's a good question. For years and years, I used a big topper. Why do we use a big topper? Because a big topper has a ton of curl. And so I would use a big topper, and I do now, but I'm not sure when it was lower level what the spot is. But you can set your big topper up down here with max topspin, a 3-side spin ball, and I believe that I was 5 rings off of this. So I mean, like, I'm out here and my ball, the center of my ball guide's right here, and I'm facing off in this direction with the 100% curl, trying to make that jump so that you're just running straight down the fairway, trying to get down into this area. You really don't want to screw up low, because it's super dangerous when you're coming up to the cup. When you're coming up to the flagpole, we got the flagpoles here, and literally right, I mean, not too much in front of the flagpole, it's already dropping. But it gets to an extreme down here to the bottom where, like, if you go past the flagpole and you're going in that direction, you're going to wash out and it'll take you all the way to the sand. I mean, there's no two ways around it. So if you find yourself washed out down here in the bottom, your shot got screwed up, well, pretty much anywhere over here, do not, in my personal opinion, do not try and set your shot up where the flagpole's here and you're trying to run it up and you're dealing with that big steep ass hill. You want to get up on the other side of the flagpole and just like get it super close. Like, maybe try and get a bounce to go in or whatever, but like, I know when I'm done, I'm going to be 3 squares away and I make my putt and I move along a little doggy, because it can be dangerous down here if you really try and go for it on the front of this face, because if you don't make it and you're doing spin and it doesn't make it up there, it might start rolling backwards, and if it starts rolling backwards, it's the beginning of the end. 5 rings off with your big topper. I think max topspin, max curl, no overpower, 3 power ball. And I believe that you pull back. I always try and pull these shots back so that, like, if you think with the power of your big topper that you're too, or if you take the shot and you're at the red line and you take the shot with a 3 power ball, when you take it, the shot comes through and ends up going on this trajectory and you end up getting caught up right here. And you can move that back so that this bounce that's in here is into the opening in the fairway by pulling your shot back and getting on this plane instead. That's why I try and utilize the plus marks that we can see on there if we're using a power ball, where I know if I'm using a power 3 ball and I'm at the red line, I'm at plus 16. So if I'm using a power 5 ball, I think it might be doubled. Is it doubled? Is it 32 or it's 30? Or I think it's 32. So you can set up your shot at the plus 16 mark, and then you can pull back. Or you can pull back from the plus 16 mark to the plus 4 mark. And on headwind days, it gives you some room forward. So if you're using a shot where you're doing like 2 topspin and you're like super close to the red line, give yourself some room. Instead of setting that shot up right at the red line with 2 topspin, pull it back and pull it back to the plus 4 or the plus 1 mark or the plus 3 or whatever. Pull it back a little bit and then set your shot up from there and add on another 1.5 topspin. That way you give yourself room on days. That way on headwind days you don't have to struggle so much. This shot will take you down the lane. I use an APOC now, and it's pretty much the same thing. I think I'm still, because it's the same curl, but I have to pull back, like I have to pull way back from the red line. What do we have next? I like that hole. That hole right there is some low-hanging fruit. Okay, we'll have to see if the wind, because I think this is the original pin placements. We'll have to see if the wind adjustment works. But in the past, if their original pin placement is playing the same way, in the past we were taking off like 10%, or we were taking off like 15. I think it was 10%. It was like 5, 10, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. But the 10% seems to come to mind. We were taking a little bit of wind off, and there is a beautiful shot from down here. Beautiful. Beautiful. Alright, this is another one of those crappy par 3s that I don't remember. Man, I always look at these par 3s and I always have these high hopes that there's going to be rough bumps and shit, but I don't think there is. I can't remember this hole at all. There's one of these holes. And it might be this one. There's one tournament. I'll have to look back and see what tournaments this has been in and see if there was one of the tournaments that I was playing, like when it first came out, that I wasn't playing this hole with a Guardian. And then I figured something out. Like I figured out a spot, like if you put your ball guide in this spot, you had plenty of room to work the wind out with this ball. You put your ball in this spot and you put this spin on it. And then you added on like 15%, 20%, 30%, whatever it was. And then you work the wind out from that spot, that every time. I mean, like you had a serious shot at hole in one. But other than that spot, this hole is another one of those holes that's super dangerous. And it wants to roll off on the backside. We'll have to go out there and play this. These par 3s these pictures aren't doing it for me. I can't remember. That's all right. We gotta leave something for. Hey, we gotta leave something for the other videos. Otherwise, I wouldn't have anything to talk about. All right. In one-on-one play from the Pro Tees, I almost always lay up right here, and it gives you a shot going up. You can try and get right here, so you got that same shot. I think this is in the wood, and this is going to be in long iron. If I'm not mistaken, if the wind was blowing correctly from where the tee box is to the green, this line, that I'm not mistaken, that if somewhere out in this transitional area right here where we transect where our red line could be and we could make it, that if you bring out a Power 5 ball with topspin boost and we had a tailwind day, possibly maybe on a pure sidewind day, but man, on a tailwind day it would be better. That you might not be able to get yourself in this position where you could get a bounce out here and try and bridge the gap. And even if you clipped and you just bled out, shit, you're in wedge. I think if you can get all the way down to the tip down here, you could probably get in the short iron. There's probably somewhere down in here where you're in short iron range. I'm not sure if you have to get over to the other side or if you just have to get down to the tip. But I'm pretty sure that this area is wood. So I'm not sure if we get that big of a bump, other than maybe just a bigger ball. We have some options here. It is dangerous from the rookie tee, depending on what ball you bring out, to get from here to the tip. You see anything good here? You want to bounce over this shit to get over there and rough bump it out and get over the thing, or do you want to bring it this way where you're bringing it around and you're doing a big curl shot to just lay it up? So I'm saying, if you have the ball inventory and the wind's blowing the right way and you can get a shot over here where you could get over, I would take that shot every day and twice on Sundays if the wind was blowing the right way. You'd have to. You do take the risk that you end up in the drink. But hell, if you could get over to the other side and get into that range where you're in a short iron, you're in your wedge. That's big. That's big. There's some tough holes out here. But I think most people are either going to hit it to the end down here, or try and get it around the bend here so they can pick up that little bit of distance. And I do think it changes from wood to long iron, and it might be short iron if you can get all the way to the end. This end down here is more dangerous than it is to just lay it up right here. So depending on what clubs you have and how good you are, this is a safe bet, and you still have a killer shot, especially if you bring out the right, you see where you're at as far as red lines when you get in the second shot. So you bring the right ball. You may only need to bring a katana if you're laying up right here. Whereas if you're trying to get over into these areas and do it, you might have to bring out a kingmaker. All right, what do we have for hole number 9? Hole number 9. All right. Okay, in one-on-one play, as cheesy as it may sound, in one-on-one play, I almost always play like this. I try and go from the tee box down here. Tee box, this direction. I try and go from the tee box out here to this with as much force as I can possibly get in a 1-power ball. And I try and get the ball to go from here as close as I can to this, but I almost always end up in the rough somewhere out in this area. And from there with my Nirvana, I can just barely make it over to the other side here, and I can get on, and I can bridge this gap to get it over and bring it over to the other side so that I can get my eagle and force a shootout. That's what I almost always do, always, in one-on-one, because this is almost a guaranteed. I mean, you still have a lot of work to do, but with a 1-power ball, if you get in trouble over here, there ain't none of this recovering with your Nirvana to get on and getting an eagle. That is a lay it up somewhere. So I'm going to go straight at it. But in tournament play, we have all kinds of shit that we can do here, especially with some of the newer balls that are out. If I remember correctly, the last time we were playing it, when this hole first came out, I played over to here trying to get all the way down to the bottom, where I straightened this line out. And if you brought the right stuff, you actually had a rough bump where you could do a rough bump right at the cup. And I believe that was with a sniper. And you had a beautiful shot if you were down in here. And you want to get up into this pocket, and I believe, like, if you can get your, like, if you got mid-level, lower-level clubs, if you can get your big topper up there, whatever, like, it'll probably take a bigger power ball, like a 5-power ball. But if you can get your big topper up into this area, it's got the curl to bring you around. What you don't want to have happen is get caught off over here on the side. I mean, if you do get in trouble, you want to be on the inside of that shot. And this is another one of those blind curl shots where you're on the tee box. Let me get it where you can see it. You're on the tee box, and you're trying to end up right here. So we draw a line from there to the tee box, and we're trying to cover this angle. And at the end, we want to be doing just that. We want to be just rolling down the fairway, going through the deal. So where we need to start is like right here. So our angle is going like this. And we're trying to cover this angle. So you need to start off, 3 or 4 rings away from that. And I'm using this as my measuring spot so that I know, like, if I shoot this shot and I end up over here, I need to pull it to the right. If I end up over here, I need to push it to the left so that I can try and get my trajectory going right down the middle. With my clubs, what I would typically do is, like, if I started myself off 4 rings off over here, and I ended up like right along the edge, or I was like this, I would make a huge adjustment to see if I could, where the other side is, so then I know what my spread's going to be. So so if I do 3, I'm close on one side. If I do 5, I'm close on the other, or whatever it happens to be. But this shot down here is iffy because you have a lot of stuff going your way, and you have to practice this because it's a blind curl shot. It's just a setup shot, and you're going to do a blind curl shot, and it's going to end up down here. As opposed to bringing out a bigger power ball and trying to bounce off of this and going from here down to here through this rough area and just bleeding out and ending up somewhere down on this tip, because this is wood and this is long iron. And I suppose with some of the newer balls that are out there, depending on how much, if we had a deal with a tailwind and what kind of clubs you had, I would, you know, I mean, if you can get on this arc, let's draw that shot out. You're trying to get from here, hit the rough. You need to hit the rough and bleed out into this area so that you have that shot to the cup. Hitting off here, sorry about that. Trying to bleed off of this rough right there, bounce out into the fairway, terminate right there, and have that shot to the cup. You have a rough bump that you could do, a straight tee rough bump. This is a beautiful area. But if you think about arc, as far as in our shot to try and get to here, this is where you'd end up here. So this is a bit of a stretch, but it just depends on what kind of ball inventory you have. I'm not sure if we were able to get over here with just a regular berserker, if we had to bring out a topspin boost ball, but you might. I suppose you might, if you had the right stuff and a topspin boost ball, you might be able to get to that if we had the right wind. And that'd be beautiful. If this is long iron, that's got to be short iron or wedge. And this is on the same plane, so they're almost on the same level. This is definitely higher than the cup. Definitely. Our eyes are telling us it is way higher than the cup. I have no idea what the adjustment is on it, but there are some options that we have on this hole. This is a pretty cool hole because you can play to the outside, and if you can get down here, you have a pretty decent shot at it with your wood. But there's a shit, in my opinion, while I played this shot for the first 2 or 3 or 4 tournaments that this was out, when they started coming out with these bigger power 5 power balls, it changed this hole. I don't have to take these risks. Yes, I would love to end up down there, but if I get in any trouble out here, I'm in trouble. Whereas if I try and go to here and I make it, I'm in a better club than here. And if I screw up, I can still make it because this is long iron, and I have a long iron as a rough iron, so I can still recover from anywhere down in here. Even if I screw up and I make it to the other side and I rolled out too fast and I ended up in the sand traps down here, this is long iron. I have a long iron for my sand, and it has a lot of topspin, so I could actually continue to do the rough bump. So I think playing to the right here, as weird as it may sound to, like, I'm sure that some of you out there that have played this hole in one-on-one and stuff before, like, this is one of those holes that if you want to get an eagle, you hit it into the rough. I can think of a couple other holes that are like that, but this hole, for sure, I'm playing this direction somewhere, and I'm going to actually try and play for here, because I think this is doable. All right, there you go. There is the League of Leagues. I think I got most of the holes, some of them. There's some of those par 3s that I don't have a lot of time and grade on White Cliffs on those holes. I'm sure that when I get out on the course and I look at the hole when we're actually live and we're on the hole, that I'll go, oh yeah. This is what we do on this hole. But that picture was not doing it for me. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a subscriber. Hey, if you're not a subscriber, there's like 50% of the people that watch my channel aren't subscribers. So I mean, if you're not a subscriber, hit subscribe. If you like the videos, ring the bell, leave me a comment, let me know. Let me know and I will do it. Well, maybe I'll do it. I might do it. I'll try. We'll see. Thanks for watching.